Yo, this is Soul Drum 86 bringing you another video. Today I wanted to bring up this topic. Um, what makes a wrestler a good wrestler? Like, what makes someone a good or great wrestler? One of the reasons why I want to talk about this, I mean, a lot of this I have said before, so it's not going to be anything really, too new, but I felt inspired to make this video because they were talking about that girl, Jordan Grace, and I said in a comment to a video I was watching that, she just seemed like everybody else outside of her physique and in-ring ability. In-ring ability, I said that was like everybody's good. I've said it before, like everybody can wrestle. You know what I mean? For the most part, we got some people but everybody for the most part nowadays can. They're extremely athletic. They can do a lot of things. And, I'm watching several videos actually on the topic of like how Jordan Grace showed up in NXT and everybody's going crazy for her. Everybody's all excited. And I don't watch TNA. And when I said all of this, and I always make sure, I'm respectful as possible when it comes to talking about wrestlers because of what they do. I respect the business, always have, always will. So that's why I started out my comment saying, like, look, man, she's great in the ring. I get it. She can do all the things. And her physique is awesome. Like she looks imposing. She's short. She's really short, but she is she's built. You know what I mean? She's very muscular, looks great. But I said, she's like everybody else. There was nothing that stood out. There was nothing where I was like, ooh, yeah, like I'm excited to see more. And she was at the Royal Rumble. And even when she was in the Royal Rumble, it was still just kind of like, okay, everybody who watches TNA popped for that, but I don't watch TNA. I shouldn't have to watch TNA. And it was funny because there was some people who supported me due to the likes that I had on the comment. And then there was a guy who replied and he said, you got to watch TNA before you say, she doesn't have a character and all this other stuff. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, if somebody shows up in another promotion, they kind of have to show you who they are. You should know who they are based off of their very first promo or the very first time that you see them in the ring. You should know what they're about character wise. You should know what they are about character wise. And then that doesn't happen. So, he goes on to tell me like, look, man, he was like, you got to watch TNA to know about this girl before you judge her. This is what I hated about when people were hating on AEW, saying that, certain wrestlers in AEW just didn't have it, but they didn't watch AEW and all of this other stuff. And I was like, wait, I was like, doesn't it also mean that a person isn't doing their job as a wrestler if they're coming over into another promotion, showing themselves, having mic time, and a person still doesn't know like who their character is? And I went on to say, The Rock, if this was back then and The Rock or Stone Cold or Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels, I mentioned a couple other wrestlers. I said if they showed up in a different organization or something, and it was those fans' first time seeing them, they would know exactly who those characters are. If you hear Stone Cold on a mic one time and you've never seen Stone Cold before, you know exactly who he is. You don't have to guess. You don't have to say, this guy is kind of vanilla. Like, no, you know exactly who he is by listening to him. Same thing with The Rock. You listen to The Rock talk on the mic, you know exactly who that character is. You know exactly who he is. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. You listen to him on the mic one time. You see him for the first time one time. You know exactly who $1 Million Man is. You know exactly who Shawn Michaels is. Hell, you know exactly who MJF is. I think MJF was one of the wrestlers I mentioned because MJF is actually really good, especially on the mic. He's got the in-ring ability, and on the mic, he's awesome. You know exactly who he is. You know what you're getting yourself into. But all I was saying was simply like, look, all of these people in wrestling today are praised. In a lot of these videos I was watching about this topic, it was nothing but, oh, this is exciting. She's great. She's this, she's that. And it's not just her. I don't want to pick on her this entire video. People say it for a lot of different wrestlers that I don't understand. I listen to wrestling podcasts all the time, right? I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts who kind of align with more of what I feel about wrestling. I listen to podcasts who talk about the current product, and they come from the era of wrestling that I watched. A lot of these guys, they're a little bit older than me. And I always think to myself, you guys should know better. You know, I mean, look, to each his own, but I'm like, you guys should know better. I'm just curious as to why the idea of what a good wrestler is has changed so drastically. I said it in my one video where I said they're turning wrestling into more of a sport. It's like now when you hear people rave about a wrestler, it's because of the in-ring ability. And that's it. I'll always hear a name drop and they'll be like, oh, this is a great free agent. And AEW should pick them up. WWE should pick them up. And they're so awesome. They're so great. They're so this. They're so that. And when they finally do make it to either AEW or WWE, I watch them and I think to myself, okay, all right. Yeah, sure. They can flip off the turnbuckle with the best of them. All right. Okay, but what is their character? When they're on the mic, what are they? I don't get it. I don't feel it. I don't believe it. Right? Wrestling is always about character. For me, it's not just about the in-ring ability that makes you a great wrestler. Shawn Michaels was awesome in the ring. The way he made other guys look strong, you know, the way he sold for other guys. But Shawn Michaels had more than just in-ring ability. Shawn Michaels had the ability to turn babyface and heel and make you believe it every single time he did it. When he was a heel, you felt it. You were like, yeah, this dude. Yeah, I love Shawn Michaels, man. But like, yeah, he DX Shawn Michaels is very different from babyface Shawn Michaels in 1996. You know what I mean? Very different. And he was able to play that role. It's the way that they were able to play their roles back in the day. That's what makes a wrestler good. When they get on a mic and they don't stutter, when they get on a mic and you can tell that, you know, nobody's writing for them. They have bullet points and they're able to just kind of like let loose. That's what wrestling is to me, man. That's what makes a good wrestler. That's what makes a good wrestler. It's the character. How do you get people behind this person? Male or female, how do you get them behind this person? I watch a lot of wrestling today and I don't feel it. They don't provoke an emotion. So when I hear people say that they're so great, they're this, they're that, I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I just don't see it. Because you could do all the moves you want. You can wear cool tights, you know, all day long. You can have the best looking wrestling trunks in the world. I can't believe Shawn Michaels just won with that. You can have the best looking trunks in the world. It doesn't make you a great wrestler. You got to be able to talk on the mic. You got to be able to convey some sort of emotion. You got to be able to get the people behind you. And a lot of people wonder why so many people can't get over. The answer is right there in front of you. That's the other funny thing that I've noticed about when wrestling today is talked about on these podcasts. You know, in the comment sections, you hear a lot of people talk about, oh, yeah, they're not getting over. They're not getting over. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a very, very simple reason for that. They sound timid on the mic, the vast majority of them. Not everybody is a CM Punk, but I mean, why not? Not everybody is a CM Punk. Not everybody is an MJF, but why not? Even Roman Reigns has gotten better. Wrestling was always about these larger than life characters that made you feel something. You either love to boo them or you love to cheer them. And they had that it factor. The vast majority of them, they had that it factor. A lot of these people, again, they can do all the things, man. All the things they can do. It's all good. No, let me not do that, match. Let me not do that. Let's see. Let us see. You know what? I do have a British Bulldog. Where is he at? Hold on. Hold the phone. Let's see. Here we go. There we go. All right. Let's go. But yeah, I just felt compelled to make this video, man. I had to when I got the I should watch TNA. You know, somebody shouldn't have to watch a wrestling program just to know who a character is, to know what their character is. You shouldn't have to. I mean, it's already a lot of wrestling on TV now. You got 3 hours of Raw, you got 2 hours of SmackDown, you got 2 hours of Dynamite, you got 2 hours of Collision, you got an hour of Rampage, you got an hour, I think, it might be 2 hours now. I don't watch NXT, but you got an hour or two of NXT. It's a lot of wrestling. And then you want me to watch TNA just so I can see what Jordynne Grace is about when I've seen her now 3 times. I did watch her most recent match on NXT. I saw her 3 times on WWE TV, and I see nothing special other than the way that she looks. That's it. Now, if I'm a promoter and I have somebody like that on my roster, I'm going to do something to make her stand out. Because I'm like, man, okay, she's got the physique like China. She's shorter. She's got a physique like China. I can have fun with this, you know, like there's just like this ultra lack of creativity. And it's just, I'm going to be a super athlete and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform all the moves. I'm going to perform the routine. Forget the storytelling in the ring. Forget all of that. Forget anything about what type of character I am. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to smile. I mean, obviously, she seems like she's a baby face because she was smiling and all of that. So obviously, I guess she's a baby face. And she's just a smiling baby face. That's it. And again, I don't mean to just pick on her, but this video stemmed from the discussion I had in the comment section on how I should watch TNA before I make my judgment. And again, I'm a broken record in this video. If you're shown a wrestler for the first time that you've never seen before, you should know all you need to know about them. When Hunter Hearst Helmsley started in WWE, when Triple H started and he was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the blue blood, you knew exactly who he was. He had different women with him, like every time. You know, he was like that rich snob, you know, William Regal-esque. I think he was with William Regal in WCW. You know, he had that gimmick, that persona. We all knew who Hunter Hearst Helmsley was as soon as we saw him. All we had to do was see his little vignettes. Because remember, WWE, I think they still do it now, but they used to do it better before. Anytime somebody was getting ready to debut, they always had little like vignettes, little like clips they would show. They did it with Razor Ramon, and they did it like weeks leading up to when you first see them. And you knew who the character was. You knew exactly what you were getting here. Remember Val Venus? When they were doing the vignettes for Val Venus before he debuted in wrestling? Val Venus was that dude. Like, I actually did like Val Venus. I love this character. I felt like he was like a newer version of Rick Rude. A slight, you know, more of a corn star. but he was He was like Rick Rude. He reminded me of that. But you knew exactly who Val Venus was. You didn't have to guess what his character was at all. You didn't have to guess. You knew who Val Venus was. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. You knew who Val Venus was. You know who Bam Bam Bigelow is. You know who British Bulldog is. It shouldn't take for you to watch 2 hours or an hour of another wrestling program to know who a character is. And again, I think a lot of this is because people are like, oh, wait until you see her in the ring when she has a full match. Yeah, a match that looks just like everyone else's on the card. Seriously, if you watch wrestling today, everybody's matches mirror each other. There's nothing different that happens in it. There's nothing different. If you watch an entire night of Monday Night Raw, you will see the same moves done, just in different parts of the match. Might see them earlier in one match, might see them in the middle of one match, and then you might see them towards the end in another match. Everybody does the trading blows. Everybody dives outside of the ring. Everybody. It's the same thing over and over. The only difference is their finishing move. That's it. And again, to each his own, right? And there's a part of me, I still enjoy wrestling today. Once a wrestling fan, always a wrestling fan. I will always watch it. I can find some enjoyment in it. But when I see these people boast and praise these wrestlers today, I don't get it. It's something that I don't understand. I'm like, what is it about this person that you like so much? Like, what am I missing? What am I missing? You know, and I don't know, man. Look, I'm not trying to be that old man, get off my lawn. I'm not trying to be. But I feel like I know what works. I've been watching wrestling really my whole life. Been watching wrestling my whole life. I started watching wrestling at 3 or 4 years old. I know what works. I know what it takes to really get people invested. Again, I want to take it back to what I was saying earlier in this conversation. You have these talking heads who talk wrestling and they'll praise it, but then there'll be so many characters. They can't get over. They can't get over. She can't get over. It's because she doesn't have a character. Like, look, I got to give her flowers. Toni Storm is awesome. I love timeless Toni Storm. Like, that's wrestling. Like, if you see Toni Storm for the first time, right? Like, say if you watch TNA, and say if AEW had like this thing with TNA where and you saw Toni Storm go over to TNA. And whoever's watching TNA that just purely watches TNA, maybe they watch TNA and a little bit of WWE, but not AEW. When they see timeless Toni Storm for the first time, they're not going to have to ask, okay, who is she? What is she about? You're going to know exactly who Toni Storm is about. She plays her role so perfectly. I mean, it is flawless. And I wish more wrestlers today had what she had. Both male and female. I really wish that more people would take wrestling that serious, man. Toni Storm is a beast. She is a beast at what she is doing, man. And people wonder why she's over. That's the funny thing. You'll see in the comment sections where it's like, I don't think people, they praise her for being over. They like her, but it's like sometimes I don't feel like these new wrestling fans understand why Toni Storm is so great. And I could tell you right now, it's not because she performs moves well. It's not that. She actually has a gimmick. She has something that you could either get behind or you're not going to get behind it. You're going to boo her or you're going to cheer her because she's more of a baby face now. But when she was a heel, when they would do press conferences, watch the press conferences after certain AEW pay-per-views that she's on, and she stays in character while everybody else, MJF stays in character too, for the most part. I think he had some where he was being his like before he left for injury, he was being like the real MJF. But other than that, you look at her in her press conferences, she talks like herself because she talks different in that character for Timeless Tony Storm. That's the beauty of it. That's what wrestling is, man. There's a lot of acting involved, and a lot of these guys, I just don't believe them. I'm gonna make a lot of people mad, but Damian Priest, I mean, his promo on Raw was terrible. When he was in, I don't know if it was this week's, maybe last week's, when he was doing the promo with Gunther and then Drew McIntyre. Oh my God, Drew McIntyre was the best one that was on the mic in that whole segment. Gunther was unbearable to listen to. And Damian Priest, he sounded nervous. You could hear him remembering his lines. It's the worst thing that you want to do when it comes to wrestling. You listen to Stone Cold talk, it don't sound like he remembering anything. He's just going off the cuff. And it's smooth, it's badass, and he made you feel it. He made you feel it. The Rock made you feel something. Bret Hart made you feel something. Shawn Michaels made you feel something. That's what wrestling is about, man. These are characters we're watching. And we're not watching UFC or boxing. If I just want to see athletes perform, I'll watch UFC. I'll watch boxing. That's not what I want out of my wrestling. It's not what I want. So I want to ask you, what makes a good wrestler? Is it just performing moves? I feel like a lot of you guys are going to support what I'm saying because, I mean, you see what's uploaded on this channel. But there's a lot of guys who came up watching the same years of wrestling that I watched. And it's like, I don't know if they're being overly positive because they just kind of went with the times, so to speak. They kind of just allowed, okay, this is what it is now, so I'm just going to support it. I don't know if it's one of those things or not. I don't get it. I feel like if you started watching wrestling in the 90s all the way up until now, and we went through that period of time, like the Attitude Era, which is not even my personal favorite. It's a great moment in wrestling. It's not even my personal favorite era, but it was a very fun era. I will say that. It was very fun. I will say it's one of the greatest eras in wrestling, but it's not my favorite. It's up there, but it's not my favorite. However, that was when wrestling was on fire. I remember going to school the next day. Everybody that watched wrestling, yo, did you see Raw? Did you see Raw? Did you see what happened? Did you see what Stone Cold did? Are they having conversations like that now? Like, let's be real. Are they really having conversations like that now? Because the only thing that they can say is, oh, hey, did you see that 20-minute match? Which one? Which one? No, there's nothing exciting. That's what's killing wrestling today. There's nothing exciting. There's barely any change up. And when there is, sometimes it falls flat. Sometimes it's successful, but sometimes it falls flat. Where are my shocking disqualifications at? Right? Where are my matches that are built up where I'm getting ready and it's going to be a great match on Monday Night Raw, but something happens that just kind of, it's shocking, but it's entertaining, right? It's not just shocking just to be shocking. It's shocking and it's entertaining. It's different. It's a change up. There's too much of the same old when it comes to wrestling these days. What makes a wrestler a good wrestler? For me, you got to have the entire package. And if you're not good on the mic, get a manager who could be your mouthpiece. Simple. So then you could be a man or a woman of few words. You know, somebody actually had a good comment, man. It was funny. I was watching a video. I forgot the podcast I was watching. I'm blanking on it now. But in the comment section, they said what happened to wrestling is they let everybody in. And those words couldn't be more true. He said they let everybody in because you can spot out. That's why you can spot out who the real gems are in wrestling today. That's why you can spot them out so easily, because they know what it takes. They got it. They have that it factor. And that's why so many of them are vanilla. Nothing. They don't provoke a feeling. A lot of the times, how many of you, be honest, how many of you watch Raw or Dynamite or whatever, and you notice yourself just sitting there? When is the last time that you had that emotion of like, ooh, I hope they win? Not the whole, I think they'll win because they've been performing really well, and I don't think that it's time for them to lose yet. No. I'm not talking about getting all analytical. I'm saying that real emotion. I'm talking like when you're watching a TV show and you want that detective to solve the case. I'm talking about that superhero movie where you want Captain America to defeat the villain of the movie, or you want Superman to save everyone. I'm talking that feeling, because I used to get that feeling all the time. Even when we all found out that wrestling was a work, they were still able to get us. That was powerful. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember that moment as a kid when you finally found out that, oh man, these guys, it's not, oh, it's a work, it's a show, but they were still able to get you. Stone Cold got us every week, to the point where we really thought he hated Vince McMahon. We thought that when Vince fired people, they were really fired. They got us. Wrestling doesn't get us anymore. When is the last time we got as an audience? When is the last time that we put emotion behind what we were seeing on TV? That's what I miss. What helped that was characters. Over the top characters, charismatic characters, people who could make you laugh, people who could scare us. Come on, man. A lot of y'all my age, y'all know y'all was scared of The Undertaker, Mankind. They played their roles great. That's what I miss about Bray Wyatt. When he was the Fiend, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Because the Fiend made you feel something. Now, eventually they stopped booking him properly, but Bray Wyatt was awesome. He made you feel something. He got into character. He talked different. Listen to him talk for real in an interview, and then listen how Bray Wyatt talked when he was on the mic. No matter what character he was doing, he got into it. Bray Wyatt, he knew wrestling. I mean, his dad is IRS. So, I mean, it's really not surprising. But Bray Wyatt is missed, man. He understood what wrestling was. He understood character. He understood what it meant to have a character. He understood what it meant to provoke emotion inside of the fans. I'm not talking about kids. Kids can be easily entertained. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about the people our age and older. We talk about all these 5-star matches where they're not even selling for each other, and we call them 5-star matches. How? How, Sway? How is it a 5-star match and he's getting right back up after taking a devastating move? How is it a 5-star match when he injures his knee and he's not selling the fact that he injured his knee? I keep going back to this moment when I talk wrestling with people. Shawn Michaels, the second ladder match he had with Razor Ramon at SummerSlam, where the roles were reversed and Shawn Michaels was the babyface. When Shawn Michaels banged up his knee in that match, Razor Ramon went to Irish whip him to the corner, and he was hobbling, and then he collapsed. He didn't even make it all the way to the other corner. He collapsed. That's how you sell an injury. And he sold that injury for a while in that match. He never did anything that made you forget that his knee wasn't hurt. Because the rest of the way, they made everything happen. Everything that happened after that, they made make sense. But yeah, man, I had to get on this. I had to talk about this, man. I had to. I had to, just because of that interaction that I had. And it wasn't a bad interaction, but it was interesting. You know, I don't know how old the dude was that I was talking back with, but Yeah, you shouldn't have to watch another program to know who a character is in wrestling. That's the problem with wrestling now. You should know exactly who somebody is the very first time. Remember Velveteen Dream? You knew who Velveteen Dream was when you first saw him. You first saw him, you knew who he was. No Way Jose. Regardless of you like him or not, I dug No Way Jose when in the NXT days. When he got to the main roster, Vince messed him up. But No Way Jose, he had a gimmick. You just saw him for the first time. It was like, oh, this is awesome. He showed you who he was. He showed you exactly doing the salsa dances. You knew exactly who he was. He was doing the showboating during his first matches when he was like pretty much wrestling against jobbers, but he was showboating. It felt old school. Triple H really doesn't book matches like that anymore. In NXT, he did have his moments where he would book some old school style matches, some slower paced matches that felt real old, like methodical beatdowns, and just a wrestler, if they were wrestling against a jobber, they would just kind of not do much, but do enough to get the crowd behind them, and then that was it. 1, 2, 3, quick match. That's all. Now every match got to be a 20-minute banger. Every match has to be a main event style match. From the first match on the card to the last match, every match has got to be. You have to imagine that there's a big title on the line. There's already too many belts. You got to imagine that there's a huge title on the line because this is going to go the distance. I'm gonna tell you right now, that is not fun. It's not fun to watch. It's actually exhausting to watch. There's no change up. But anyways, man, that's all I got for you guys. I just had to get this off my chest. Let me know what you feel in the comment section. I know there's going to be some people who probably run across this video that are going to be upset. It's just my opinion, man. This is coming from a wrestling fan who has been loving wrestling since 1990, people. Since 1990. 89, 90. I was a child and I loved it. Fell in love with it. But yeah, this is your boy Soul Drum 86 and I'm out. Peace.